Good day, fellow champions of inclusion. I am Aaron, and this is the Inclusive Dad podcast, where we explore inclusion and make it practical. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me in exploring ways we can create a more inclusive world together. You are important, you matter, and you can make a difference. Today, my guest is Carol Waldman. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Aaron. It's really great to be here.
Why don't you start us off just telling me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Carol Waldman. I'm a mom of three. I have kids ages now 23, 21, and 18. My professional background is working in politics. I've worked at many levels of government, local, state, and national, and many political campaigns. I'm a community activist for human rights and especially in advancing neurodiversity. My personal journey in raising my son, Andrew, who was diagnosed with the autism spectrum at age 5, has led me to an increased interest into helping neurodiverse individuals.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for telling me all about yourself. And you've always lived in California, or have you lived in other places?
Yeah, I was born and raised in San Diego,
Okay.
and I have lived other places. I lived in LA for a number of years, and then my husband and I moved back to San Diego. He's from LA, but to raise our kids here. And for a lot of the support services were really
Okay.
good for Andrew. So
That's great. Yeah. What is your definition of inclusion?
yeah, I actually wrote that down, but because I thought about it, it's really the acceptance of differences and not isolating or segregating people based on being neurodiverse, including like, especially, for Andrew's case, I think about as for friend groups, organizations, and just making sure everyone feels like they belong.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm curious, my background is I don't remember hearing the word disability or knowing anybody with a disability growing up. So when my daughter Cecilia was born, it was kind of all new to me. Did you have any experience with disability before your son was born?
My brother had like some behavioral type in that day, like in the 70s, they called them like behavioral type issues. And
Okay.
we really didn't know if it was like learning differences or what, they called disability at the time. But definitely not with autism. I really didn't know
Hmm.
much about it, hadn't heard of it, was shocked when we got a diagnosis. So I felt like it was just such new territory for me.
Yeah. How did you once you found out the diagnosis? Were you able to connect with resources or find other
Well,
parents going through similar stuff?
it's interesting. We were in LA at the time, and his three-year-old doctor appointment thought, well, he's not jumping, he's not answering my questions. He needs a developmental pediatrician, and so got him tested, but there was no diagnosis right away. It was all developmental delays, and so we were like immersed in lots of therapies, still without a diagnosis until he was close to 5 when we were considering like elementary school, although in preschool he had an aide. So no one recommended like the resource center or regional center or anything in LA. And when we came to San Diego, I really didn't know about it. I think we didn't really talk about autism. It's like, well, he's got some differences. Of
Sure.
course, now today that's so different. I mean, immediately people find out earlier and they learn about the services. So
Right.
I did learn, I did get reimbursement later and,
Yeah.
have definitely learned more since then.
Yeah, so yeah, my daughter was diagnosed with epilepsy at 3 months. Her name's Cecilia. She's gonna be 23 in October, but yeah, it was all new to me too. So yeah, you just whatever they tell you, that's what you know, and you don't know the stuff you don't know. So you just kind of
No. And there's just so much more
yeah,
today.
yeah,
Um, People talk about it much more.
yeah, for sure. How is your son doing? Or talk a little bit about maybe him and his growing up and what he's doing now.
Good. Yeah. I mean, Andrew went through, the public school system, pretty much. There was a few years where he was in private school. He had a good, like, high school went pretty well for the most part. I mean, it was definitely hard socially at times, but I just have to tell you that, a couple of areas, a couple of organizations were really helpful. One was our, temple, that was very inclusive. We have a youth director, and I believe you interviewed him, Craig Parks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so because he had a kid and now an adult with special needs, sure. He was really helpful with Andrew, and Andrew was, on youth group boards. He had a bar mitzvah. I mean, he felt very included there.
Yep.
And then the other area, and he went away to sleepaway camps, and the day camp was inclusive. And then the other area that really made a difference, talk about inclusion, is basketball. Andrew loved basketball. He still does. He's not the top skill player, but in high school, we had his academic support teacher, and she and the coach worked it out where Andrew was able to play basketball. And then because he was so diligent and he made all this, 6 a.m. practices and played really as hard as he could, he was on the team. He was on the JV team and then the varsity team. And then one day he made a 3-pointer and the crowd went wild, and it went viral, and it went on Max Preps and all over the school. And it changed his confidence. But, again, including him, those were highlights. He went off to college. He went to University of Wisconsin, never thought he would go out of state, and got more support services. He's graduated in political science. He's in Washington, D.C. He did an internship with a program called Broad Futures, which mentors young neurodiverse adults. And now he's looking for a job. And that's, like, for so many young people, challenging, but I think especially challenging for him. So,
yeah.
But he's trying.
That's awesome. Yeah, so it sounds like he found the stuff that he enjoyed and liked, and that was very helpful for him. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, we worked at it, but he did. Yeah. And he really, our goal is, like, he just wanted to fit in. Although he is Andrew, but he just taught a lot of his friends and educated a lot of people too about neurodiversity.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that your temple was inclusive, because for a lot of families, church or the religious piece is hard, because a lot of churches or places people worship are not too inclusive or don't include people with disabilities. So that's awesome that's a good place.
It was, Temple Salao in San Diego. Just really, I mean, I'm beyond grateful, because it really, you don't know who's going to come forward and be there for you. And the camps and sleepaway, we went to sleepaway camp. That just wasn't something I thought possible. Right. So in Craig Parks,
How did he pick a university in Wisconsin?
Oh my gosh, that was, he loves sports, and originally we were looking at schools with, more of the academic support programs, more with, like, that could help autism, and that was just really, it was just hard. But anyway, we found some, but then he's like, I'm just going to apply to Wisconsin and see what happens. And he got in, and it was 2020. So he graduated high school in 2020, and he went, but at the same time we learned there was a new program called Virtual Hall, which is now called Canopy College Coaching. And they helped him virtually with life skills and academics. And so that helped a lot, but it was really the sports, and he wanted a big school, and he found a bonding with sports, with going to sports games.
Where did he go to the University of Wisconsin? What town?
Madison.
Okay, Madison. I've driven through Madison on the way to Milwaukee a couple times. So yeah, awesome.
Yeah, no, it was a great town for him. I mean, it's a big school, but he was on the speech and debate team. He was vice president of the Political Science Association. Wow. He he's brave. Like he would just go out, and again, when he was 5 or 14, I mean, there wasn't, I had no idea. The other thing that prepared him, I forgot to mention, was the college internship program, CIP, which is based throughout the United States. But we sent him to the summer before 11th grade to Indiana University, because again, sort of that big sports school, for 2 weeks to live in a dorm to see how he would do. And he did. He did great. And so that's how we knew, okay, we could send him away. What we didn't expect is he got COVID at Wisconsin and they had to get a hotel room for 14 days. And, but he rose to occasion. He just did what he needed to do. So underestimate people,
That's awesome. So now he said he had an internship in Washington, D.C.?
He finished the internship and he really wants to work in policy or do something in government. He's thinking about law school, but he thought he would just work first. And he enjoys the city. I keep saying, do you want to come back to San Diego and save some money? And oh no, no. This is my city. So
yeah.
So we gotta I'm trying to find like coaches or people who could help him with that for finding a job, because he can't just stay there without a job. So
can't live off mom all his whole life.
He knows that.
That's awesome. Do you want to talk maybe a little about your work with politics? I mean, have you found like working in politics them to be like inclusive, or how has your experience been with politics and how they treat people with disabilities?
Yeah, I mean, I'm active in the Democratic Party, so they're very receptive and inclusive. I'm a delegate, so that I'm an elected delegate for our state. So I go to a lot of meetings, and I applied to be on the Justice, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. We'll see if I get on, but I really want to advocate about making sure neurodiversity is included. I've gone to so many committees where they're very inclusive. That's a friendly environment for inclusivity.
Yeah. Do they do a lot? I mean, do they do stuff for autism, like try to reduce noise and all those kind of things also, or like make it more inclusive?
That's a good question. I haven't asked about that. I'm not on the committee yet, but I think, it's wheelchair accessible. I think even like if you're hearing impaired, they have a sign language interpreter.
That's cool.
If people have headphones, they're definitely allowed. It's just, there's, I'm going to learn more. And if not, I will advocate for more, especially with schools and support systems. Andrew's experience was so great, but I know that with funding and, you need the funding for these programs. So I'd like to continue advocating in those areas as well.
Yeah. Have you connected with a lot of other parents? Have you been able to connect with other parents? And
when he was younger, it was hard at first. And then we did like a social group because everybody's, that was the thing to do, social groups. Later, I found an organization called the Autism Tree. And that has been great. The director has a son who actually just graduated law school, and Andrew's participated in 2 neurodiversity panels. And I've met a lot of parents there. More kind of later, which is interesting. But I think at the time, people weren't as open, and now we're just to tell everybody.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 48, so I don't remember. I mean, growing up, hearing disability, any of that stuff growing up. So I mean, autism, I'm not even sure. That had to have been the 90s at least, probably, or later. I don't even remember at this point. Yeah, it's definitely changed.
And people didn't, and when he's first diagnosed, we didn't talk about it. Like we didn't want to,
Yes.
any labels or anything, right? And so we didn't, but then it was just so hard to raise him. And, I have 2 other kids, which actually, has been good for Andrew because they'll call him out on any type of behavior, especially growing up. And even now, his younger brother, will check his haircut. How does your hair look? What clothes are you wearing? It's really interesting, which, you would never think, but yeah.
So have you worked on like political campaigns?
Oh yes, lots of campaigns. I've worked on local. I just worked on a supervisor's race, a special election, and she won. I worked on state campaigns. I worked for the California state legislature for 6 years. I worked for different elected officials.
Okay.
Yeah.
What got you into politics?
I ended up one summer in Washington, D.C. I had an internship for a congressman, and I wanted to do something in public relations. I was a journalism major, and then I was there, and I thought, wow, advocacy is so interesting. And I just got interested in it, but I thought, well, I'll just do it for the summer, but I'm not going to go in politics,
Right.
But I think once you're in it, and it must just be, it's just what I think about is helping other people and helping others. So I've always had that. So then when, you have your own kids, and then with Andrew, it was like, oh my gosh, advocacy, that's where I'm going,
Yeah. So a lot of your advocacy is around autism, obviously. How do you, let's say, I've been to the state capitol in Minnesota a couple of times for like Disability Day, talk to legislators. Do you have any like tips for families if there is stuff they hit roadblocks, like tips on how to approach your legislator and talk to them and have them see if they can help you?
I can give an example. We had our board of supervisors there was some legislation proposed. It was actually Autism Tree, somebody from Autism Tree, as well as other community members, worked on legislation to open doors and create training for neurodiverse employees. And so in order to get that passed, we had to contact lots of families, and then we'd write letters. I went to testify. So I went to the hearing and spoke on behalf of Andrew. So that's more at the local level. But I think for the state level, I think it's really educating elected officials, inviting them to, like, I need to invite them to, like, I'm thinking to a neurodiversity conference. I talked to a couple of them. I happen to see them at conventions, and, there's one that's introducing legislation to make it easier for special education teachers to teach. So it's really educating them, whether it's personally, whether it's through writing letters, whether it's through an organization, but any elected official, because they may have experience with neurodiversity or they may not, right? And so they won't know unless they are educated. And constituents talk about it.
Yeah, is the board of supervisors at like the county level or what?
The county level.
Okay.
And and it always depends, who the majority is, who supports the funding, who supports the training.
Right.
So politics is always ever changing. So you just have to keep on it. Once you've done it, you can't just stop and everything's okay, because it just depends on how the government and
and then I think even state to state, or sometimes inside states, like where the money gets allocated, like Minnesota might allocate certain funds a certain way, whereas California does it differently. So you really need to understand your state and local stuff, how it works, because it's not just because it works this way in Minnesota does not mean that's how it's done everywhere, I've learned. So you got to kind of figure that out.
Well, I'd like to know more. I think because Andrew is at this stage of life, is working, what companies hire neurodiverse employees, how does this all work? And I'm researching that now, because that's where I also want to put energy and time to find out what young adults are doing, because a lot of times people graduate and then they're home and they have a college degree. Where are they going to go? And how do you compete
Right.
in this world? And it's interesting because I want to know, because I want to really, you know, and through Andrew, I want to see that this works and that
Right.
he succeeds and that others do as well. I also think about the funding for some of these programs we did with Andrew. You know, we paid for, but that is what we say, you know, we budgeted for, but they're expensive. And I just think it's unfair, right? I think everybody should be able to afford them. Everybody should have these opportunities. So to figure how getting money for those programs, whether it's through government or privately raising them, or you know.
Yeah, that's for sure. Because my daughter, she aged out of the like K through 12 transition stuff in October, and just that whole piece about, okay, now there's college or community college she wanted to go to, and then it's like, okay, this is way different, and they don't really tell you a lot about how to navigate it. So trying to, like, it's such a different system, and it's like, okay, this is way different. How do I figure this out? And I understand what you're saying. And those programs, there are, I think in Minnesota, one or two like college programs where, people neurodivergent or people with disabilities can attend, but they're 3 hours away. And then she needs like more help with daily living tasks than they can service. So it's just, how do you make all these pieces fit together? If she wants to go to college, how do we make that happen? Can we make it happen? And just all that stuff.
Where is she living now, did you say?
So she lives with her mom full time, and then comes over to our house a couple nights a week. So she's still living at home at this point.
Yeah.
But like we live in southern Minnesota, so about an hour and a half south of like Minneapolis. So it's just, we're more rural, and the programs are up there. But like I said, she requires help with all daily living tasks. So it's just those programs, you have to be able to live, so much independently, do so many things independently, which she can't. So then how do you find somebody to help her that could be with her full time, and that kind of stuff. So
right. And that's, educating. People don't know these stories, right? Which is why you have your podcast and you're sharing about your daughter and helping others. But wow, I hear you.
Well, and even with all the political stuff happening, the recent bill passing and all the talk about Medicaid, like I've been sharing, my daughter gets money from Medicaid and she's on waivers, which allows her to live at home. So, a lot of people don't realize that Medicaid is used in that way also. So just trying to share, like, okay, she's home because of Medicaid that pays for this stuff. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to live at home. So just educating people about how it actually works in real life and put a face to like the stories and stuff.
Well, that's true. Yeah, we're feeling it in California too. It's been talked. That definitely has been talked about, because people don't realize with autism, you need. We rely on these resources. They don't realize what it's for, and it is really educating the public and educating elected officials, and and talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. So what he said, Andrew wants to have a job in politics or some kind of policy?
He does. He did some research with a bipartisan legislative firm. But he does. He wants to. And then he took the LSAT to see, and then he might take it again and see how he does, and see if that's what he wants to do. It's a hard test, but or maybe he'll end up in business. I think he's trying to figure it out, That's the one thing, I think about, like, college was great, but it was also like, then what, right? Who's going to them, right? Like, they have a career center and they have alumni association, but it's like, well, wait, he's out there on his own. That's what I feel like. But I've got to, and it's really, I feel like I'm the one doing the research on resources, but then once I find out, I want to help others.
Sure.
So, but they're all cost, and so you just have to think is this worth it? Is this going to make a difference? And then you go from there. But yeah.
Yeah, for me, what I've been thinking about more recently is just with all the stuff talking about the government and different things. It's like, okay, I mean, so much for my daughter relies on the government continuing to pay for stuff. And I'm like, well, it can be taken away, it seems like. So how do we set up things where, growing up, I knew my neighbors. We borrowed sugar from the neighbor lady. We helped each other. And it seems like now we don't do that as much. To me, it's like we need to kind of figure out how do we maybe slide back into that a little bit and help each other. Find other ways that are maybe less government intensive to provide support. I have no idea what it looks like. It's just, to me, I don't like that. Like I said, so much we rely on for my daughter is based on government funding, and if that's gone, then what happens? So like maybe trying to think outside the box a little bit. So
right.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't have any answers, but
do you know any of your elected officials? Have you?
I have not done a lot with politics, to be honest with that. I know of them. I have not.
Happy to help you research.
Okay.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Just because it's just something I know what to do. Yeah. But
sure.
I just think even, in California, I thought it was California too, or, like I know some neighbors, but
yep.
Yeah, it is not the same as when I was growing up, but I thought, oh, maybe that's California. And I thought, oh, Minnesota, everybody helps each other out.
No.
But yeah.
I think it's just, I don't know when it happened, but you just don't, we're not, as a kid, I was outside all the time too, because there wasn't much to do inside. So you're just always outside interacting. And now it seems like we leave the house, go to work, come home, don't spend a lot of time outside, getting to meet each other. So maybe it's just I'm getting old and I miss the olden days. I don't know.
Well, even like with Andrew in DC, I don't even know how he found out about it, but it's like I'm going to a pickleball league. That's when he was first there. Oh, okay. And then now he's like, oh, I'm going to a kickball league. So it is finding these places, but again, depends on your ability. It depends, right? Like they do have, like they have special needs type sports, but it depends, is it in your area? Do you need more? But when you talked about the funding, I think that is big. And I think really, concerning, and we just have to keep advocating and making sure we elect people who would support helping neurodiversity, disabilities, however you phrase, but especially with schools, because everybody is diverse and everybody, I think for sure we all we deserve a chance and to thrive in our own ways.
Absolutely. What is one tip you can share to help the listeners be more inclusive today? So just something anybody can start doing today to be more inclusive.
I'm going to take this from my son, Andrew, because he's talked about before, being like an afterthought, and that people like assume that he's fine by himself or that he's included, but instead make sure they really are included. Don't make them an afterthought. Everybody's part of this group, or if it's a friend group, especially, or you're all going out to an event, include your daughter, include Andrew, include them if you're together. And yeah,
that's awesome. Is there anything you want to talk about that we haven't talked about?
I think just not to give up, and I'm just trying to think like with find the community, it's finding the community, and also I think one of the other things Andrew said is finding your people. You've got to find your people because that's important.
For sure. Where's the best place for everybody to connect with you if they want to get in touch?
Oh yeah, I have an email. I can give the email. I have LinkedIn.
Okay.
Should I just give email then? And
yeah, sure.
It's C as in Carol, N as in Nancy, Waldman, WALDMAN @gmail.com.
Okay.
And I'm on LinkedIn.com, Carol Waldman.
Okay.
And then Facebook, Carol N. Waldman.
Okay. I will make sure I put all those links in the show notes. You ready for the last question?
Sure.
I think I know the answer, but do you like Spam lunch meat? Yes or no?
You know, I actually tried it in Hawaii. It was masubi. It was mixed, right? And it was interesting. At first, I was like, oh, I don't know about Spam. It was Californian, right? Like, oh, yeah. But, you know, it wasn't so bad. I mean, it was mixed in. It's like, okay, I can eat this. So, yes, that's my answer. I'm willing to try. But yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I live near Austin, Minnesota, where they make it and where the Spam Museum is located. So if you want to visit the Spam Museum, you have to come to Austin, Minnesota.
I will. You know, I was in Minneapolis not long ago. We took a trip because my youngest son wanted to see Minneapolis, like where his friend was from. So like, we'll have to go back. I liked it.
Yeah, Austin is about probably 90 minutes south of Minneapolis. So not just a lot of cornfields and stuff down here, but yeah.
All right. And then we'll go meet all the legislators.
There you go. That'd be awesome too.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
California, San Diego.
I have not. Have I been to California?
And your daughter.
I don't think I've been to California actually. I've been to Seattle, but not California.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. To those listening, thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. It is truly an honor. Please join the podcast newsletter by clicking on the link in the episode description to keep up with the latest episodes. Together we can make the world more inclusive. Until next time, stay empowered and be a champion for inclusion.